Bases dropping Soccer's morning show, and it's match week, everybody. And apologies for 906 because I was breaking down the week for Jarrett.
That's also my fault because I brought up Sami Zayn.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's part of it. Like, you were trying to be productive with work things.
No.
I wanted to talk about Sami Zayn being as over as a human can possibly be over.
True, but if you go down that rabbit hole, you know that you and I will go down that rabbit hole, and the rest of and we won't be able to do the show live at 9:06, and we'll be like talking until like 9:20 about Sami Zayn and Elimination Chamber. Reason with that we brought that up is because this week is shaping up to be a cavalcade of stars as we get into match week here, and in the Sami Zayn discussion. To that effect, in a perfect world, communications and cell service permitting, Kevin Egan joining us on Tuesday morning to discuss the upcoming MLS season, the busiest man in show business. We'll see if Kevin Patrick is in the car with Kevin Egan, maybe get in a question about Elimination Chamber while we're there. So in theory, Kevin Egan joining us on Tuesday morning. Wednesday, 9:05 out of the blocks and Turner time. Glenn Crooks, play-by-play for NYCFC, will be hanging out. We'll probably talk a little Georgia football with Glenn and find out what's going on at NYCFC. It looks like Glenn Davis, one of the best soccer ambassadors on this or any other planet, will be joining us 9:30 Thursday morning. And we are tracking down a couple of other folks to join us either Thursday or Friday. So it is shaping up to be one hell of a week. Morning, Alex. And looking forward to all of it. Looking forward to catching up with all of you. We have the games of the week on Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday afternoon, a bit of an early start for the SDH games of the week. We're at McIntosh. McIntosh boys at 4 play Dalton. McIntosh girls at 6 play Pacelli. That's Tuesday. Friday games of the week, back to normal times, and it is, I believe, Central, Gwinnett, and Mill Creek. So it'll be a tour to Houston, and a very, very busy week for us here at SDH, but a fun week on a match week. And so that's where we are in tracking down folks and getting guests in, because Saturday means it's for real. And that's the fun part. And so opening kickoff, before we get into Atlanta United picking up, who's the third man? We found out who the third man was, Jarrett. We'll get into that in just a sec. But
we found out who a third man is.
Yes, a third man. Yes. So a third man. So we'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. But also, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, remember that if you use the code SOCCERDOWNHERE15, you get 15% off of your purchase when it comes to everything Kickoff Coffee. And don't forget to follow them on the media that is social, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. They, in turn, take 10% of their proceeds and roll it over into youth games. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, sponsor deals. And this was something that literally came across as, once again, Jarrett and I were trying to talk about stuff this morning. And the sponsor deals sometimes, they can get a little weird. Bolton in, God, where are they? Are they in the championship or League One? Hang on just a second. I mean, Bolton has been struggling in on the pitch, and they've been struggling when it comes to getting in your dollars. Thank you, Will. League One. I was correct in clicking on League One first and foremost. But Bolton in League One right now, they're in 4th place. They are right there in the middle of it when it comes to the promotion playoffs. They had a 4-game win streak snap last time out. So they're at 59 points. They're in 4th. They got a sponsor deal, and it is a 5-year stadium naming rights deal with a local company, and we all know how local companies are when it comes to supporting their teams. It is a building product manufacturer. Starting July 1st of this year, the stadium for Bolton will be named after the Bolton-based building product manufacturer, Tough Sheet. Beat 2, 3, 4. Tough Sheet for the new stadium. Tough Sheet Community Stadium. The jokes.
They write themselves. You don't need me to write these jokes.
No.
I'm not punching this up.
Nope, not a bit. And the replies, if you were to go on the official BWFC Twitter account, are about what you would expect. Quote, and if you don't like it, tough sheet.
It's a nice reminder that no matter how bad you think things are for you and your team, no matter how grim you think it is, no matter how dark it is before the dawn, there's always someone, somewhere, who, even though you have stubbed your toe into a wall in the middle of the night, that's probably your pinky toe.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone somewhere who not only stubbed their pinky toe, but fell back into like a nest of brown recluses. It can always be worse. Someone's always having it worse than you.
One for when you win the games at home. You just lost to Tough Sheet FC. Uh-huh. Yep. This is where we're going. Strong like bull. Tough Sheet Community Stadium. Yeah. And so it is a local business, and it is a record-breaking deal. If you don't like the name, Tough Sheet. Tough Sheet Community Stadium for our friends at Bolton. First off, congratulations.
Hey, you know what, though? If the check clears,
bang,
that's all that matters.
Largest sponsorship deal in the club's history is how it's being phrased. So there you go. Literally, Tough Sheet. Record-breaking deal. But once again, fantastic for Bolton because they've been struggling financially. If you don't like it, Tough Sheet. Alex Pacine says he heard there was a bidding war with rival company Full of Sheet.
Meanwhile, Manchester United had Chevy on their shirt for how long? And then Chevy had an economic crisis. So if Tough Sheet stays in business and the check clears, that's all that matters.
And Will with Alex. Don't forget their subsidiary Got a Sheet.
And hey, I mean, look, it could you can get to the point where you have fun with it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun with it and kind of do a nod and wink to it, like Livingston does, for instance, with Tony Macaroni Arena. Tony Macaroni being basically like Scottish Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Run-of-the-mill Italian restaurant, the kind of thing that makes Nick clutch his chest in pain somewhere. Because it's probably not going to be authentic Italian. The odds are very stacked against you if you're looking for authentic Italian in that situation.
Yep.
But yeah, they have fun with it. Like they call it the spaghetti hot. Like they do all the fun things with it. And yeah, well, have fun with this because if the check's clearing and you're getting money and you're not dying, that's good. So have fun with it. Be goofy. Like don't be afraid to laugh at yourself because you are in League One right now after spending a lot of time in better places. Oof. So I don't think you have a lot of wiggle room not to laugh at yourself a bit.
Yep, more responses from the official Twitter release. Teams that come to our place and get beat, well, it's Tough Sheet. Well, sheet happens. Like literally, this is on the timeline, and I hope that Bolton Wanderers embrace the ever-loving hell out of this. Yeah,
and to Emilio as well in that conversation of if we sent him to Tony Macaroni's, he'd probably stage a small revolt through part of Scotland.
Yes. So, yep. So that's where you are this morning, and when that literally morning, Tom. Yeah, when that literally came across our bow early this morning, it's one of those things that you could not resist. Bolton Wanderers, local company, largest deal ever, Tough Sheet.
Oh, if the fruit were any more low-hanging, you'd be picking it out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, could not resist on that one. Which reminds me, can you guys, you and the collective, well, Tom, that was kind of what I was going to be getting into later this morning, but When it comes to sponsorship deals, the question that I have here as a part of Twitch Pitch this morning, what are some of the weirdest sponsorship deals? And Jarrett brought up one where that could be embraced with Tony Macaroni and the Spaghetti Hot. What are some of the weirder sponsorship deals or ones that didn't fit square peg round hole that you guys have seen in your lifetimes when it comes to the sport of soccer? I mean, yeah, you've got the athletic, Reebok and all those.
The Manchester United Chevy thing still feels like a fever dream. It was somebody made a movie.
Yeah.
And they said, we need to throw an American company onto Manchester United shirt. Let's just do Chevrolet because that just, truck manufacturer with a very French name built in America. That just screams America and England.
Chevrolet.
It just feels like a fever dream era, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the only thing missing is players coming out for pregame warm-ups in bow ties, which would have been absolutely perfect.
Yeah. To Tom's point for the season previews, we'll get into that.
Oh yeah, we will.
Go for those of y'all who didn't fail statistics. I almost did.
I never.
Man, I hated it so much. I like using statistics. I hated doing the actual statistics class.
Yes.
Go look at the range on those predictions. Don't just look at Atlanta. I know a lot of people you jump right to your team. Go look at the rest of the teams because So Orlando has a range of 2nd to 13th.
Yeah.
It's just most of these teams have a range north of 10.
Yeah.
Where don't build your emotional well-being around these preseason predictions because they are all over God's creation.
That is true. So yeah, I mean, it literally, like I said, we'll get into it. We know it's out there, and part of this week was going to be me asking not just Atlanta United predictions, but in the overall, looking at the East, looking at the West, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to open the predictions door to what everybody thinks, not just about Atlanta United, because this week being the cavalcade of stars, allegedly, since we're getting ready for the first week of MLS, we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff. We're going to be talking East and West, and Will, that is the next thing on the plate. So it looks like you're reading my rundown. And so weird sponsorship deals as they come into your brain this morning, and anything else that comes to mind when it comes to sponsor deals that were kind of a half bubble off plum. So that's kind of like opening kickoff. So let's actually, get into the show. So here you go. There's your QR code. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 for those of you that have purchased already and invested in Kickoff Coffee. Thanks for doing so. Continue doing so. And they, in turn, take 10% after you use the code SoccerDownHere15. They take 10%, reinvest it in the youth games at kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Bobby Heenan, bash at the beach. Who's the third man?
He really just completely blew that spot, didn't he?
He did.
When we go back and look at it.
Oh, he completely and totally did.
Yeah.
Whose side is he on?
Yeah, don't
that line entirely. That line entirely blew the whole thing now that you look back on it as an adult.
And because then you get you get Dusty oh no, what are you talking about? You get Dusty trying to downplay it, trying to make him look dumb.
Yes.
I just imagine Dusty is taking his shoe off and beating Bobby over the brain with it.
Correct.
Because man, you had this beautiful moment. It was so well scripted. And Bobby talked. God bless him. God bless Bobby, but man.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. So
the third man.
The third man. Will, the Barry trade makes sense. Makes me think we didn't trust Cholder Conway behind GG. Miguel Barry finds his way to Atlanta from D.C. and going to the 21 season in Columbus, comparing it to the 22 season in D.C., it was night and day. $250,000 in AM for Miguel Barry. And so this is one of the guys that you'll be looking at up top. Teammate of Derek Etienne in Columbus, by the way. So I know a lot of you looked at the numbers in DC in 22. Here's his numbers in 21. So here's his numbers in 21 in Columbus, courtesy of our friends at FB Ref. And this is what they do. For those of you that don't look up FB Ref, what they do is they take your numbers and apply them to percentiles among everyone else in Major League Soccer. So top 2% in non-penalty goals, top 3% non-penalty XG, top third in shots total. More math, NPXG plus XAG puts him in the top 15%. Then defensively, successful take-ons, top third. Successful touches, top half. Successful tackles, he was in the top 25%. Clearances, top 5%. And then aerials won, he was top 20%. So comparing him to individuals in the 2021 season, when he was part and parcel to Columbus's success, he was compared to Adam Buxa, Jossie Zardes, Daryl Dike, Bobby Wood, Bjorn Jonsson at CF Montreal, Chicharito, Lucas Cavallini, and Fabio with Red Bull. So that's your now a 2021 comparison for Miguel Berry. 2022, by everyone's standards, was just not on the board at all in DC. And so, if you were to take something of a midpoint, Jarrett, that's what you might be getting with Miguel Berry, with a system that probably fits him better here than what was tried with Losada and Rooney in DC.
Yeah, we'll see. It's hard to compare it straight up because, when he was doing well at the end of 21, when he's racking up goals, he's playing Caleb Porter's system, which Caleb Porter has gotten progressively more regressive throughout his career, as evidenced by what happened in 2022 in Columbus at the end of the season. Barry was one of those guys that we thought would be one to watch last year.
Yep.
As, hey, you want somebody to be that. You want somebody to be that depth striker who's going to give you goals off the bench late in games or spot starts that you might need. Then, that's what you were expecting. And it didn't happen. He gets traded to DC, doesn't do a damn thing in DC, which join a long list of guys in DC who didn't do a damn thing. 2022 really felt like just a wash for DC. It's hard, and it's not even just him. It's hard for me to hold anything against anyone in DC. Taxi Fontes going off for 3 weeks notwithstanding.
Yes.
It sounds like from all the articles that the Losada thing was just an absolute mess. From the locker room on up to the manager, and everything in between was just a hot mess. Then you bring in Wayne Rooney. We weren't even sure Wayne Rooney was going to start the year with him this year.
Yep.
There were concerns he's going to go back to England.
Yep, and be the new manager at Everton. Yeah.
Yeah, he might go home to Everton, but it sounds like he's going to stay at least for a year. And we can get into predictions and all that. With DC, I don't have huge expectations for them this year. And it's not because I think they'll be terrible or I think that Wayne Rooney's a bad manager or anything like that. But he comes in, and this is his first full off season to kind of figure things out. And I'm very inclined to give them a large pass on a lot of what happens in 23. Now, they might come out and make a playoff. I don't know. MLS is stupid and weird and beautiful.
Yes.
They might come out and make the playoffs. They might come out and be an abomination for a while and get hot late in the season and then fade. It could be a number of things, but they've got so much to kind of make peace with their dear and fluffy Lord that I'm not overly optimistic with DC, but I just kind of want to sit back and see what happens and see how Wayne Rooney builds, because I think it's a good piece for, if he can build it, for what his resume can be in the not too distant future when he probably does go back to England. As far as Barry goes, man, I don't know. He showed you really good flashes in 21. You spent some game to get him, and now you are going to see what he can give you in a backup, because if he's playing lots and lots of minutes, something went horribly wrong or there were injuries again. But if he's my guy coming off the bench and I need him to stretch the game out or stretch the field out, then it's fine. It gives you more veteran depth, and this is something I was hoping they would do. I wasn't picky enough to like pick who exactly it was, so I'm not gonna sit here and turn my nose up at somebody who's actually scored goals in MLS. But I did want a veteran forward. Now, whether or not he is that guy who can put the numbers together, that remains to be seen. But I did want to see them get a veteran forward because I liked what Machoke Cho gave you.
Yep.
I like that Jackson Conway is playing gritty, but he still has to finish opportunities. But both of them are still really young. And as we have seen in the past, having a really young team ain't always it.
Yep.
Because you got to have somebody veteran. I don't know if anyone's talked to Dom Dwyer.
I haven't seen anything about Dom's next step.
No, neither have I. And I assume with Dom, my assumption with Dom is that he wanted to be closer to his kids. Sidney LaRue gets traded out to LA, and he's kind of always followed, when they were married and then after the fact, they've kind of always stayed close to each other.
Yeah.
And I think I think he wanted to stay close to his kids, and he wanted to be very involved in their lives. And I think that is where he's at. That's admirable. And if that means like he went to Atlanta and said, "Hey, just cut me loose so I can go out there and I'll figure it out from there." Maybe he goes play USL. Maybe he goes and jumps on with one of the LA teams or San Jose as a backup, or does whatever he wants to do. I'm my son. This is funny that we haven't really heard anything. I guess no one's asked him, but I assumed that when he left here, it was because of family. But that did sting when he left here because that veteran forward would have been wonderful to have going into this year. So because of that, you needed to go get a veteran forward. Miguel Berry is 25 years old. He's actually younger than Yorgos Giacomakis. But it's somebody who scored goals before and who's not, really wet behind the ears right out of college or coming out of a homegrown deal and trying to prove themselves. You needed another body up top who you can throw in there. And I'm glad they were able to get someone. How it works out, I don't know yet.
Right. In 21, before he showed up in Columbus, he was with San Diego in USL Championship. Had 7 games played, 4 starts, 3 goals and an assist. Gets picked up by Columbus. 18 matches played in 21. Half of them starts, 8 goals, 1 assist. Then in 22, combination of Columbus and DC. 30 matches played, 21 starts, 1,682 minutes, only 2 goals on the board, and both of them were in Columbus. So that's the numbers that you're looking at statistically for Miguel Berry. Once again, FB Ref did the comparison for him in the last year, and then it's a lot of them were in forwards, and a lot of them are overseas. So you can't really necessarily compare him to anyone unless you remember Carlos Espinola from Toluca for AmFam 2 Electric Boogaloo. So that's probably the closest that we could come up with. But yeah, Miguel Berry is now in, and yes, and technically because it was a resource, Tom, it is something that you have as in your wallet. So it's either a player or it's allocation money or whatever. It is a physical property. So technically, it is a trade of resources with Miguel Berry, even though it's just an AM deal. It's like in baseball where you trade for someone who's cash considerations for a player. It's still a trade, and it would still show up in the transaction section in the back of the paper that it technically still is counted as a trade. So we'll see what's going on there. So yes, predictions. So Miguel Berry now is in. You had mentioned Jarrett, Jackson Conway, and Machoke Cho. No word yet since Machoke left AmFam 2 with some kind of an injury. No update yet on what it may or may not be and any kind of time off or anything like that. And so with Miguel Berry, you're also protecting your flank there, not knowing what the current situation is with Machoke. So either way, there's something that has happened to help you out one way or the other, if it is to help out with depth in general, or if it is to help out with depth and also taking care of your flanks because of injury. Possibly, like I said, we don't know yet. So that's the latest with Machote. But bringing in a McGillberry for $250,000 and Am does help you out. And so you're looking for that presence that's been there, that's put the ball in the back of the net. I know a lot of folks are looking at 21, not necessarily 22, or 22 and not necessarily 21. So, but right now, McGillberry in the fold for Atlanta United. He's the third man. Thank you, Bobby Heenan. And yes, at some point we'll probably talk Elimination Chamber, and I know that we'll talk Elimination Chamber. We'll see if Kevin Patrick is in the car with Kevin Egan as he is going from location to airport tomorrow at 9:30. So we'll see if Kevin Patrick has anything to say about Kevin Egan and vice versa tomorrow morning about that. All right, so once again, as a guidepost this week, since it is match week, we have seen the predictions from our friends at MLSsoccer.com, and they are, no surprise, all over the place.
Yes.
All over.
I want to drill this home to people. Like, go read about other teams.
Yes.
Don't pigeonhole yourself into one team. Go read about other teams because they are all over the place. Like, I think the only one I saw that was really consistent was Philadelphia. It was like 1 or 2 for everybody, which makes sense because Philadelphia was a very weird final, brilliant final, a very weird final, and one header from an amateur golfer away from lifting the cup.
Yeah.
And they've done all the right things. Like, they've done literally all the right things. It's been wonderful to watch. If maddening because of the ishhousery that often takes place.
Mm-hmm.
But they've gone full heel with it. That's fine. We need more heels in this world anyway. At least on the sporting side of things. Everything else has just been all over God's creation. Like I said, I think Orlando's was like somebody had them second, somebody else had them 13th. Like, I feel like a lot of this is just firing from the hip with predictions.
Yeah.
So don't go too wild with the predictions, but yeah, check out what projected lineups will be, who's added who's lost who. It's a good way to kind of 30,000 foot yourself through changes throughout the season. Season, excuse me.
Yeah, and at MLSsoccer.com, they did all of their previews and thought of what they were going to think. And yes, Jarrett, to your point, Orlando is anywhere from 2 to 12. You had a couple of 3, 6, 9. They have 12 personalities giving.
I'm much more inclined to lean towards the top half of the table. I think Orlando's going to be really good and really fun.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I don't know what caused the 2 personalities out of the 12 to sit there and say 11th and 12th. I know that Atlanta United fans will have no issue with that kind of prediction whatsoever when it comes to the purple team. But you have 1, 2, 3 2s. You've got 2 3s. You've got a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7, and then you have the 2 that have them in double digits down at the bottom of the table. But once again, this is what predictions are for, and this is what we wanted to do here this week. We wanted to hear what you guys thought about not just Atlanta United going into the season, but about the other teams in the Eastern Conference. What do you think? Is it going to be Philly and everybody else? Is anybody going to be chasing after Philly? Because there was somebody who said that in the league predictions from their personalities that Red Bull were going to finish second. And I literally raised my eyebrow at that. And I was like, really? The only thing missing was Seth and Amy. And I need to get that drop, by the way. Seth and Amy was the only thing missing from Red Bulls, from that one individual that said second place for the Red Bulls. Morning, Coco.
I'm not inclined to think that they finished second, but I do think that there'll be a playoff team. I think Gerhard Struber's good at his job. But like the amazing thing about, for instance, 2018, go look at every Red Bull season before and since they've really adopted that Red Bull's suicide press.
Yeah.
They always have like a stretch in the fall where they just look like absolute ass. Because it's exhausting to play that way. It's tiring, and guys like run out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
You get these lulls where it's just not going, and like they'll go through a couple games where you're like, yeah, they'll have a couple games where they'll be fresh, they'll be ramped up, they'll be 100%, and you'll be like, oh, that team can win the East.
Mm-hmm. And
then they'll have a couple games where they just lull, and you're watching, and you're like, that team might take the spoon. Damn, that's bad. Yep. And then they'll kind of somewhere in between, but they'll make the playoffs most likely. I mean, it's been a team that has been good at getting into the playoffs and not being able to finish the drill. Although one would argue that one of the reasons that has happened versus Philadelphia, who has done amazingly in the playoffs in the last few years, is that Philadelphia went out and got a couple game changers, really. And New York's attempts to get game changers, like Kaku, have not worked. So, like, when a team wants to punt the ball down on you and tell you, hey, you're going to build up play, we're going to make you do all the work. Like, Philadelphia actually has game changers, like people who can, like, turn the whole game on its head. Red Bulls hasn't been able to deliver those guys consistently. Now, until they can do that, I'm inclined to think that they are still a playoff team, but not necessarily a team that's going to win the East. Now, watch them make some move in the summer that makes me look like a fool, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, Philly's departures: Paxton Aronson, Corey Burke, and Matt Freese. They pick up Joaquin Torres from CF Montreal. That was a solid below the radar for those, because Montreal is literally, it's like, it seems like it's on another planet. It's like you're dealing with the Jupiter Premier League, since they don't get the coverage on a daily basis like everybody else. But Joaquin Torres to Philadelphia. You pick up Damian Lowe in a trade with Inter Miami. Then you pick up Andres Perea from Orlando. And so, I mean, Philadelphia, to me, did some fantastic work. Once again, just some little things. Guys that, that aren't going to sit there and break the headline and turn that into 25 inch font. But when you think about it, what they're looking for their needs, they picked up 3 dudes that were pretty solid. Red Bulls, on the other hand, look at their departures. Aaron Long, but we talked about Aaron Long. Klamala goes to Hapoel Beersheva to open up a DP spot. You bring in Dante Van Zier from Union SG. You've got, and I know that there's a lot of pressure attached to that. Corey Burke from Union, and Peter Stroud as a homegrown. So,
yeah, not having Corey Burke is going to be interesting, because, like, so there is the burden of proof with, where we think, like, if someone's gone or someone's added and they fit into a system, and you think, oh, they'll be fine. Based on past experiences, we have this conversation about, a team that's been a mess versus a team that's been really good. When they have to replace someone, we do this thing in our brains where we're like, they're having to replace someone, but they have been so consistently good for so long, it's going to be fine. No big deal. That's kind of, I think, where I'm at with how they deal without having Corey Burke, because I think Corey Burke was really good on that team. I think he was more important to them than the number of goals he scored. How do they fill that gap? Are they going to be able to get the same production? Again, it's not just goals. It's like doing that really dirty work, holding, like, winning the second ball, winning the duels at the edge of the box and playing like Gazdag in. However you want to go about it. Are they able to get that same production out of not Corey Burke? I think they can, because I think they are that machine is so well oiled at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Until they don't do it, I kind of expect them to do
it. Ricky, we did talk about Miguel Berry a little bit and went over his numbers and his percentages in 2021 when he first showed up in Columbus from San Diego Loyal. And we talked about his 22, where it seemed like after he was traded from Columbus to DC, the fit didn't seem like it was there. So, if you look at the 21 numbers, you look at the 22 numbers, you're probably looking at some kind of expectation in the middle. But Miguel Berry will be there to help you out, experience up top, and regardless of which situation you attach it to, like I said, we don't know what's up, if anything, with Machop Chol leaving the match against Toluca and AmFam 2 Electric Boogaloo.
It sounded like it was precautionary, but
yeah.
the thing. Like, we've gone back and forth with injuries in the past about like how they're negotiated and how they're discussed. Because a lot of times, like other clubs will do this too around the world. They don't want to just straight out tell you, "Hey, yeah, he had a grade 2 hamstring pull. We're looking at 4 to 6 weeks."
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and tell you that.
It's the same thing that like. It's the same thing we praised Bill Belichick for so long in New England. Of you want to kind of be cloudy about injuries. You don't want to give anyone ammunition about who to expect or who not, who they should expect, who they should not expect, how they should expect things to line up. You want to be vague about it. So I don't expect unless there's like surgery involved. I don't
you don't
expect
want to give
like
away
a solid. Yeah, I don't expect solid answers at this point from really any team because you don't want to give away. You're not giving away information for free if you can help it. So that's where I'm at with it. And so, I mean, yeah, we might not see Machopchol for a while. And it might be, he might have blown his hamstring out. He might have just lightly tugged it and needs to take a week or two off.
Yeah.
It's still a very big – go ahead.
No, just but just the notion of bringing in Miguel Berry gives you someone who's proven that he can put the ball in the back of the net. He will be a backup for you. And he is there as a backup on his own merits, and B, a backup to help you if there is an injury with Machop that would keep him out for a while, or if you think that situationally he will be better for you and Machop better out on the wing to help out with what you've got with Jackson. So I mean, it's protection in more than one spot for more than one reason when you bring in Miguel Berry. And like I said, it was $250,000 in AM. And so we'll see. I think a lot of it has to do with fit. I think a lot of it has to do with system. And remember, like I said, also played with Derek Etienne in Columbus. So, the relationship is there with him as well. So there's a little bit of familiarity up top with individuals and dudes, and it's just getting integrated with what you're staring at with Miguel Berry coming in. So that was the talk that we were having, Ricky.
And Emilio, that's probably a very safe bet that Berry's going to have more points than Rossetto, because
it's just different.
But Rossetto, even when he's actually lashed a few on frame late last season that were like, oh, didn't know he had that in his bag. He had the goal in the preseason, but I would be very happy if you were correct, because hopefully that number is not a goose egg for either one of them.
Right.
But hopefully Miguel Berry is. If Miguel Berry is able to come in and give you like 5 goals this season off the bench,
yeah,
that'd be swell. Or basically give you what Ronaldo Cisneros did.
Yeah.
In terms of goals, but not in terms of minutes, if that makes sense. Like not as many minutes, but give me a similar kind of production. Like come in late in games, cause problems. I need someone to stretch the field kind of thing. Yeah, give me some sort of production in that front. Whether he does that or not, who knows? Because as everyone's gone back and forth about how much do you read into what he did in Columbus versus how much do you read into what he did in DC?
Or didn't do in DC. Yeah.
Yes, what he didn't do in DC. Which is the real animal that you're dealing with here. We had a similar conversation about Yakumakis. Like, how much do you read into what he did? Because he was a late bloomer. He didn't start really putting up goals until he was 25. How much do you read into what he did at VVV and in Scotland versus, his younger years where he wasn't as productive? Did it just take time for it to click for him? What do you expect out of him? Or was it, as they would call it, a purple patch?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Coco, and, I think Coco's spot on here. Come in late, put the tired back line in hell. I think that's spot on.
Hopefully.
For someone like that.
And you're gonna have speed on the wings anyway with Etienne, and with Luis out on the right side. Assuming his concussion doesn't have lingering effects, Caleb Wiley can also be part of that conversation. If he's healthy, Machop spent most of his time out on the wings. How much he can give you, and if he's able to be productive, that remains to be seen. But again, we talked about last week, Machop is very much improvement territory for me. you need to prove something. And if you really want to get weird, you can always just line up that homegrown deal for Luke Brennan, who got the start over the weekend up in St. Louis. And I told y'all, if you want to put jelly beans on your next homegrown, let's see, it's almost Easter now, so let's Easter candies. Cadbury eggs are trash.
The Reese's eggs.
I don't know. The Starburst jelly beans are pretty great.
Yeah. So I'd go the Reese's peanut butter eggs.
So are the nerds, the little nerd clusters and the nerd jelly beans are very clutch.
Yeah. Well, I'd say after the last two matches, I'd put Reese's peanut butter eggs on Luke Brennan as your next homegrown.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
I'm pretty confident. But man, I mean, it's been really cool. And like I said, you and I have seen Brennan and those who've gone up to the fraction to see Luke, just to see him evolve. It's been really cool. Burned with a Tyler Wolf question. And Coco, yes, definitely. Supposed to be the Dom roll. Take that from Barry. No doubt. I think that's what you're staring at. Burned. What's Tyler Wolf's status? What position would he play? Wing or midfield? I haven't heard anything about Tyler once the U20s were done. So that's another question and another possible personnel element here. And I've always, from the time that Tyler was with the Twos, and this goes to Emilio's question, what do you think Tyler is best at? What's his real position? What do you think when it comes to Tyler Wolf, Jarrett?
Yeah, Tyler Wolf does really, I know he was a favorite of multiple managers for his work he would put in. How that's going to look for him long term.
Yeah.
He's got to actually produce. He's got to actually produce more than just the hard work. He does the hard work part well. He does the pressing part well, but he actually has to be able to produce. And I think that's where it gets interesting for me is if he's able to actually create direct assists or to create goals. It's going to be interesting. He's got to actually be productive.
Yeah.
He has to actually make something happen. And I think he's a good option on the wing for providing that forward pressure.
Right.
Can he fit into the midfield? I don't know. I mean, you got bodies there. Johnny Fortune. I know.
Yeah, and that was where I was going to go with the midfield thought is that a Johnny Fortune, I think, is there in the midfield. So if you have Tyler out on the wing, and I know a lot of folks had him. I mean, because remember the match he had against Indy 11 where he had the natural hat trick, and he was up top. So I mean, I'm thinking wing just because of the numbers that Atlanta United has in the midfield. And like I said, Johnny Fortune was that name trigger for me and everyone else that's there. So I'm thinking Burned. I'm thinking wing as well. So, I mean, we'll see what Gonzalo Pineda has, but I haven't heard anything about Tyler since he left for U20. So when we know, when we have something on Tyler, obviously we'll let everybody know. But Burned says that for Tyler Wolf, its best position is wing. For FTB and Pineda, weirdly been midfield, but he is a better fit for a pressing team than for a team that plays with the ball. That's Burn's thoughts on Tyler Wolf.
No, I agree. I think when he's pressing, he's at his best. I think he's at his best when he's able to provide pressure and to move quickly. I think his best moments were the twos for that, where in some of the games for Jack Collison, where he was able to be part of pressure packages and put away quick opportunities.
Right.
And it's easier said than done, and it can be a tough fit. And I don't know. I'm interested to see how Gonzalo Pineda tries to make him fit this year.
Yeah, I am too. So, no status update on Tyler Wolf, but we'll see what the thoughts are with Tyler going forward. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about this week. Bottom line, whether we're talking about Atlanta United going in, whether we're talking about the other teams that drive you crazy, whether you talk about predictions that are on the board. So this week, in and amongst the cavalcade of stars, it literally is going to be a preview week for Major League Soccer. It's questions across the board, and it's not just about Atlanta United. It's about everybody else that you're staring at, although it seems that the pundits, or personalities, I believe is how I'm phrasing them this morning, the personalities that released their thoughts seem to be universal on one thing, that Chicago was going to be god-awful. 13, 14, most of them 15. Most of them had them 15th in the East.
I mean, I don't know.
You had one person say 13th, everybody else said 14th and 15th. So that's what we refer to as DAL. Dead blank last. You lose Jean Duran to Villa. You got Gaga Slonina now at Chelsea. Jean Espinoza.
Man, Slonina was really good last year, but Slonina spent way too much time having to pull them out of the fire.
Woo. And then you bring in a new starting right back who's 30 from Montpellier. Then you bring in Marin Haile Selassie from Lugano on loan, and that's part of the multi-club model that Chicago has. So 23-year-old Swiss international, just under 700 league minutes in from FC Lugano, goal and 3 assists. So Shibilko, Mueller, Shaqiri, Torres, Jimenez, Navarro, Sijos, Turan, Soke, and Brady in net is the projected starting 11 for this bunch. So, everybody's looking at Chicago as being DAL in this season, and in the East. And then in the West, I know.
Did anyone get weird and put them super high up?
No.
Okay.
No one had. One person had them 13th. Everybody else had them 14th and 15th. Much like City SC in the West, you got a couple who have them 13th. Everybody else has them 14th in the West. So, it's going to be fun to see the Magenta Riverside SC squad and see what their expansion is going to look like. I want to try to go to a match. It's at City Stadium, but everybody in that group of 12, the MLS Soccer.com jury had Chicago DAL in the East, and everybody pretty much agreed it was going to be City SC as DAL in the West. I can't say that that's a surprise, at least in the West, because it's a new club. I
don't know, man. Like, the West is going to be weird. Like, I don't know what really to make of. Like, you figure LAFC is going to be up there again, but like, Galaxy are just, it's a lot going on there, man.
Yeah.
Galaxy almost needs like a mini 30 for 30 for the last few years.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
they're all over the place.
They are all over the place. Actually.
One of the jury of 12 actually had them first in the West.
Okay, sure. Chicharito's just gonna go Super Saiyan for a year, like.
Yeah, I mean, you've got somebody has one of the jury of 12 has them first. One of the jury of 12 has them second. You've got 2 3s, 2 4s, a 5, a 6, 2 7s, and an 8. So basically all over the place for LAG.
Yeah.
Memo Rodriguez in. Chris Mavinga in to fall down occasionally at the back. But you got Memo, Chicharito, Douglas Costa on the right, Ricky Puig, Delgado, Brugman, Edwards, Mavinga, Caceres, Kelvin Leerdam, and Jonathan Bond. So I look at that firepower up top, short of Douglas Costa on the right. And I'm like, okay, Chicharito, Ricky Puig, Memo Rodriguez is looking for, an opportunity to turn things around. Mark Delgado, Gaston Brugman, and then you go to the back and you look at Edwards, Mavinga, Cáceres, Leerdam, and you're like, wow. Ooh-wee. Good morning, Los Angeles.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah, it could be.
It could, and this is the same conversation as this is my last thing before I have to dip. This is the same feeling I have about Minnesota with the Reynoso situation. Is it going to be Robin Lod sliding into that midfield? Like, what if Dane St. Clair isn't the same Dane St. Clair he was?
Yeah.
They still have had issues having consistent work from striker up top in Minnesota, and it just kind of feels like it could be, middle of the road. Like, you make the playoffs, but you don't really do anything. Which is, it's not the death knell that it is in like the NBA. It's not the same animal in terms of if you're mediocre, you're stuck in futility forever. It's not the same kind of thing where stars drive the league and there are only like a few stars around.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that same level of scarcity. But I'm wondering if, depending on how the Reynoso thing shakes out, how much of it for Minnesota is just kind of this year, and if it doesn't get fixed, maybe it stays for a bit.
Yeah,
for at least part of the year, and then you try and fix it in the summer, or try and fix it, next year, because it's complicated. Like, it's an Argentine legal matter.
Yeah,
it's not cut and dry. This isn't just go get him, just tell him to come here, just cut him. Like, there's no clean answer to all of this.
Nope, not at all. Just so you know, the jury of 12, one individual had them 5th. Everybody else had them 10th or worse.
And that's the thing, is like, I could see them being like 7th or 8th, just because like they've got a solid structure of a team. They're just, it feels like they're not, like, if the Reynoso thing, if he's not able to be a part of it, like, just not getting. You're not getting the productivity out of your DPs that you need. Nope. And that's what's going to get you over the top. Like, that's what we've seen from teams that can get over the hump. Like, you can get to the mountain, but you ain't going to get over the mountain. It's very much Castaway, where Tom Hanks like makes the raft and he keeps trying to get over the surf and keeps like messing up and busting his leg open on coral reefs underwater and all that jazz. You can make a boat and you can get out of the water. You can get the playoffs.
Yeah,
but you need to have either your DPs do their job, or you need to have people on TAM deals put together ungodly campaigns to get over that surf. Yeah,
and so on that note, I think Jarrett turns into a pumpkin for today.
He does. It's
all
true.
Right. Yep.
All right.
So Jarrett's back tomorrow. And we'll rock and roll with Jarrett tomorrow when he's doing his thing. But, yeah, the jury of 12 at MLSsoccer.com, I guess, is under the assumption, except for the one individual, is under the assumption that Baby Reynoso is not going to be a part of the picture. Because the roster, the starting 11 that they have at MLSsoccer.com has him right in the middle. You can't make that assumption right now. Is he just going to parachute in? We don't know. Fragapani, Amarilla, Lode, Reynoso up top. That's your attacking four. Will Trapp, Arriaga. Then your back four, Lawrence Tapias, Boxall Taylor, and St. Clair. You brought in Miguel Tapias from Pachuca. Miguel Marquez, another center back signed from the Swedish second division, while Debasi recovers from injury. Tyler Miller gone, Metaner gone. But, yeah, the jury of 12, short of the one who had them 5th, everybody else is 10th through 13th. And we'll keep talking about that all week long. Tom, to answer your question, you think you know the answer. Hope it doesn't. That does actually come to pass. But if you do struggle, is Garth hesitant to make a change because of his previous relationship with Gonzalo Pineda? I think Garth Lagerwey is going to do what he thinks is best for the franchise, in whatever form that is. So. We'll see. Looking forward to the conversation with Garth at Wild Leap on Wednesday afternoon / evening. That's going to be fun. If it might have, Emilio, if somebody put Chicago in fourth, it wasn't from the jury of 12 at MLSsoccer.com. Everybody else had Chicago, the jury of 12 at MLSsoccer.com had them DAL in the East pretty much. So we'll see. So let's see. Public service. You want one MLS team to do a German style name, like Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga, something like that. So the team name is the city name is second, something like that. Yes, Nevada, Las Vegas, 2024. So yes, and there you go, Tom. Put a team in Frankfurt, Kentucky, Eintracht Frankfurt. There you go. All right. It is past 10 o'clock, which means one thing, and it's time to read a promo. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna we're going to give it a shot. We're gonna see where we need to be. So we're gonna go to 11 because it's one more than 10. We're gonna go to 11. Actually, no, 12 was what you guys were saying it was supposed to be, right? Okay. So, all right. So we're at 12, out of loop. We're gonna hit rock and read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. The Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either above us in the cupboard or below us under the sink, because when you reach above you into the cupboard or below you underneath the sink, you take out that masking agent, you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because it masks the odor. It does not attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Lemonize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. Either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. Time to go to the website. Time for me to pick up my pen. Frequently asked questions or any other questions that you might have. If they're infrequently asked questions, I'm sure there's a question that they have heard that you think they haven't. You want to go ahead and ask it anyway. Here's what you do. You go to the website, lemonize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, so they can help you with your problem. Full homework assignment. ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, lemonize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything else on a Monday here at SDH. All right, so that's 12. We'll fade that down. There's no real fade. You can't just fade it down to 0 without it having that crash like that. There's got to be something better when it comes to fading. So now we're in hour number 2. Once again, as we look at this week, predictions across the board, not just with Atlanta United. Would love to see what you think. Closer to let's do this. Throughout the week, sprinkle your ideas in where you what you think about Atlanta United this year. Because Friday is going to be Friday. Friday. Did it a couple days early, I know. So Friday is going to be normal. 9 o'clock will be us, 9:05 will be us hopping in. 9:30 we'll have our friends at Beyond Goals. 10 o'clock starts the weekend whip around for the first time this season. Sponsors available. Sponsor slots available for the weekend whip around and pretty much a lot of stuff. Ropes, have you recovered from She Believes in the road trip? Are you back home? We'll have Bart Keeler on to talk about She Believes and USMNT and USWNT and probably some CAN national team stuff as well. So Bart will be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. But Ropes, is it better to burn out or fade away? That's a question for Kurgan and Highlander. But Ropes, have you recovered from your trip? Saw that a lot of you drove up to Nashville. And as a matter of fact, this is another thing we got to talk to Bart about. Bart made stops apparently northbound and southbound to the Buc-ee's, and I think I know which Buc-ee it is. Buc-ee's it is. It's got to be the one in Adairsville, between Adairsville and Calhoun, because that's the one I frequent when I go up north. Because I have to stock up on the barbecue. I have to stock up on the barbecue sandwiches, the banana pudding, and the sizzling saltines for the boss, as well as the jalapeno peanut brittle for the boss. Buc-ee's maybe should sponsor the show. I think that'd be pretty epic. Ricky, about Austin. Very curious if they can repeat what they did last year. Remember, they signed Sebastian Driussi to an extended contract. Shouldn't surprise anyone, but they're a good team. Caught up with Nico Moreno last week. And for Thursdays with Nico on a Thursday, asked about Austin FC and what they need to do to maintain what they've done and maybe even take the next step. So let's go to the jury of 12 and see what they think about Austin. You lose Gabrielson and you lose Musa Jite. And you could get to Jite back after June 30 because that's when the loan ends with the Ajaccio in Ligue 1. So you bring in Jassi Zardes, you bring in Leo Väisänen, central defender out of Finland, and then Adam Lundqvist, spent 5 years in Houston, so he takes the freeway north. So it was a trade with the Dynamo. You look at Jassi Zardes up top. Zardes, Diego Fagundes, Sebastian Driussi, and Rigoni, Alex Ring and Pereira in the middle. John Gallagher, Väisänen, Cascante, Lima, and Brad Stuver. Jury of 12, a couple of them have them finishing first, but most of them have them finishing fourth. You've got a 2, you've got a couple of 3s. Most of the jury of 12 have them finishing fourth, but no one has them finishing lower than fifth. That's interesting. So ropes for this trip. Drove home after the Canada match, got in around midnight. No Buc-ee's. Oh, Geodis is nice, but you missed the food prices at the Benz. No doubt about it. Geodis, the lines at Geodis and the prices at Geodis. Those are the two things I think that are a bit of a sticker shock for Atlanta United fans when you go to Geodis in Nashville. And we are efforting our friend from 104.5 The Zone in Nashville, Lucas Panzica, to discuss Nashville this week. We'll see if we can get Lucas on before he has to hang out on the morning the midday show. Yes, Ropes, parking is a nightmare. If you don't get a pass or find a way to get a pass ahead of time, it is a nightmare. Last time I went to Geodis, it was for a match, and they had you parking on the Speedway. Actually, I was in the pits. I was on pit lane in the Speedway, which was cool for one aspect, weird in another. But, yeah, they had us parking. They had media parking in pit road in the Speedway. I mean, we weren't parked like normally, like you're going into pit lane or anything. But they had us kind of catty-cornered, like perpendicular parked like a normal shopping mall kind of a thing in pit lane. So, yeah. Saw the prices. Yes, Ricky. Saw the prices for food for LAFC. There, yeah. Yeah, prices for the food in Los Angeles, they are their own special kind of crazy. And, yeah, that's some but, I mean, that's LA. That's LA for you. Prices are going to be a little north of the border. So you got to make sure that you got your wallet with you, or you got to make sure that you can write it off and make sure that that you can actually get done what you need to get done. Rope's got a spot in somebody's lawn. Hopefully you didn't have to pay like $35 for it. But public service, for those of you that are going to go hang out with Dave Denholm and then our friends in LA, just to give you an idea, $30. Okay, that's not too bad. In LA, it's no longer the bank, but it's I forget what bank is sponsoring them. Oh, BMO. It's a BMO Stadium, I think, as opposed to BMO Field. Souvenir buffalo loaded fries. I don't know what that means. souvenir buffalo loaded fries? Are you supposed to take them home with you? Do they last that long? I don't know what that means. $24 for souvenir buffalo loaded fries. There better be a lot of fries, frankly. $13 for a quinoa rice bowl. I assume the container too, Tom, but I'd love to know what the container actually is. I wish it was a helmet, like an LAFC helmet, something like that. That'd be pretty cool. $12 for chicken tenders and fries. That's a little on the north side. I get that. But one of the saving graces at BMO Stadium, they actually have Farmer John hot dogs. Farmer John hot dogs. $6. So you get a hot dog and fries, it's $12. Yeah, that's about right. But candy, $5 for Skittles and M&Ms. So if you want a sugar rush at BMO West, $5 per container. Wildberry Skittles. That's the only one they got. Wildberry Skittles, $5. You want a beer? you want a Heineken? A 24-ounce Heineken, $14. How about that for profit margin? Dos Equis Draft. See, now the thing is, here's the problem. How do you know that it really is 24 ounces? How do you know this? A 24-ounce draft of Heineken or Dos Equis, no other choices, just those two, it's $14. A frozen specialty cocktail, 1800 strawberry margarita and 3 olives lemonade. I hope the olives are not in the lemonade. $18. Signature cocktails for $13. Margarita, 3 olives, lemonade, Bushmills iced tea, or a rum punch. $13 for that. Same price as a quinoa bowl, you can get a cocktail. I wonder where folks are going. As we know, the OG's not going to buy quinoa for $13. Aquafina, the 20-ounce Aquafina, which is basically the size of the cup that I have here with me for the show every morning. Right here. Taps for effectiveness. $5. $5 for a bottle of water. So you want 4 bottles of water, it's $20. And at least it's a Pepsi place. Pepsi Zero, Starry Lemon Lime, which is their new version, Pepsi's new version of Sprite. They're calling it Starry. Pepsi Zero, Starry, and a Dole Lemonade are $5.25. So it's an extra quarter if you want a soda. And then the Rockstar Energy Drink. That's dangerous. And they do accept Apple Pay. It's a cashless venue. Taxes are not included. Ropes, it's out west. You're west of the Mississippi, you're not going to get anything Coke as a primary. Just ask Jared Jones about that. He's a Pepsi building. Coke's the sponsor of the NFL and of the Shield. He's a Pepsi building. He's basically like, yeah, whatever. $6.25 for a Rockstar Energy drink. $6.25 for a Rockstar. None of this sadly surprises me. Profit margins at BMO West look absolutely amazing. So let's see. It's like what, 2 1/3 times what we would normally pay. And this is why I'm like, you go to the convenience store, you go to the cooler, you want a 20-ounce drink, you grab it and go. It's like $2.09. It's a lot easier to buy a 2-liter, and that's what I do. I just drink from the 2-liter. But at BMO West, you're paying 2 and a little bit more times, 2 1/4 times more. Yeah, and LA taxes. So 2 1/4 times more-ish for a 20-ounce soda or a bottle of water at BMO West. That's what you're staring at. I was concerned, Will, when Starry came out. I legitimately was. Not as awful as Sierra Mist. Good to know. And they may not be as good because of LA taxes. Yeah. So we'll see. BMO West, take your card. Make sure that your credit limit's good to go because BMO West looks like it is absolutely expensive as you know what. So that's where we are. Once again, remember, Cavalcade of Stars this week. Very, very blessed to have a lot of folks here talking about the season in their various markets. Tomorrow, Kevin Egan in a car, hopefully, and we'll be able to hear Kevin as he's traveling from one city to another before he gets ready for everything else. And like I said, we'll see if Kevin Patrick is in the car with Kevin Egan. Maybe we can get in a question about Sami Zayn and Elimination Chamber, Will, considering that, yes, there's no way that Sami was going to win it, but it was one of the best presentations of an old school singles match that we have seen in a long time. It was absolutely tremendous. Storytelling was top notch. Roman Reigns running smack with Sami Zayn's wife, and I give Khadijah a lot of credit for jumping right in and doing that stuff. Right there, just talking back to Roman as the wife of the underdog. Sami had a lot of great moments. It was well written. Now do we get main event Jey Uso? That's what I'm looking for. Jey should be the one to smash the bloodline. Sami sets the table, gets to remind Jey about everything that happened when all of this started with the bloodline. All you have to do is go back to the COVID episodes when all of this started. Jey gets to be the one to smash the bloodline, and Sami's there to help. I think if you have KO and Sami chase after the tag titles, it's too easy. So that's just me. So that's your 5 cents. We'll see if Kevin Patrick's in the car with Kevin Egan tomorrow. Hopefully Kevin's cell service will be cool. And Bart Keeler will be along at 10 o'clock tomorrow to help us out talking about things in the U.S. stuff, whether it's MNT, WNT, Canada, she believes, all that kind of stuff. So we will get into that with Bart tomorrow. Once again, Glenn Crooks joining us off the top on Wednesday to talk about NYCFC in the East and anything else on his mind. And then it looks like Glenn Davis joining us at 9:30 on Thursday morning from Houston with his cup of coffee and gets to hang out with us. And might have some golden ticket crashers and still looking to chase after 2 more guests this week. And our guest list will have been perfectly achieved. So we have 2 more guests that we're chasing this week that will be later in the week. And we'll see how it all lays out. We'll see if we can get them for Wednesday, maybe Thursday, and maybe Friday. So we'll see what's going on. Friday might actually be a longer than a 2-hour show, depending on guest availabilities and things like that. So that's what we're up to. So let me see if I can test. And like I said, this is a Western piece of news, so it may not get everything here, but we have news out of the Western Conference, and I'll go ahead and try one of our new. Actually, I can't do that until I can't turn it on. So we'll see what happens. This is at 20, so hold on to your ears, folks. Breaking news out of Vancouver this morning. So Vancouver has acquired Venezuelan international striker Sergio La Pantera Cordova. Joins as a DP, scoring 11 goals for Salt Lake in 2022. Agrees to a 3-year contract, announced Monday that he's been acquired from FC Augsburg. Agreed to a contract through 2025, club option for 2026, occupying a DP spot, international roster spot, pending receipt of his international transfer certificate and work permit. Cordova, who led RSL in scoring last year while on loan, arrives in Vancouver ahead of the regular season opener against his former club Saturday, 7:30 Pacific time. So that's your breaking news out of the Western Conference this morning. Vancouver doesn't steal, but they get from FC Augsburg, the leading scorer for RSL last season. So there we go. So that's your breaking news for the morning. So at least for this particular morning. And if there's more breaking news, you see, I've got a no update on fantasy yet, Ropes, but we hopefully are working on it. Okay, so 20 was where I had the breaking news sounder. So, so Jason Wright, haven't heard from Jason, but anticipating everything happening with fantasy and anticipating Chris Ashley winning it all again and going undefeated in the league. But, okay, so Will says bottled star. He's kind of like bottled Sprite. So, okay, we'll keep an eye on that. So, haven't heard on fantasy. When we have an update, obviously, we will have an update there. But, yeah, so Vancouver grabs the leading scorer for RSL last year from FC Augsburg. So, that's where we are this morning. And when we have, obviously, more stuff to talk about, depending on how long the story is, we actually have two breaking news sounders, the short one that you just heard, and then the long breaking news sounder for like if there's like a whole lot to talk about when it comes to breaking news, and we loaded those in actually this morning. Here's your long version. And that one goes for a while. So I mean, literally, we can let things go for a while when it comes to breaking news, depending on the length of the story and the importance of it. So, all right. So going overseas, and then once again, guys, if there's anything on your mind, it is Ricky. I'm not going to admit it, but I got it off of YouTube, and so it is there it was there, and we needed a breaking news sounder, and all the other breaking news sounders had the announcer voice attached, and someone actually had that long sounder without the voice. And the first sounder you heard was from the same network, but it's like 15 to 20 years earlier. It is like their long ago breaking news sounder. And I figured the statute of limitations is gone with that one. So that's why I pulled that one as the short one. It is the way early days of the network breaking news sounder. That's where it came from. So you heard the early days sounder and the one that you're used to hearing. So, yes, you're both correct, Ricky and OG. That's where it came from. But the first one you heard is their first version of it from their early days. Thank you, Ricky. It's meant for entertainment purposes, as always, no wagering. So that's where we are. Stuff going on overseas. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about with teams and the goofiness that happened in the Premier League, but we have details from our friend Sam Wallace, and this is Premier League stuff, details of the Ratcliffe plans to get the club and not have QIA get it, the Qataris who are tied to the Qatari bank get it, even though the Qataris are saying we're paying 100%. That's it. Where Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are wanting to buy 69%, nice of them to do that, and try to figure out financing with the rest. And he's paired with JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs to get the buyout to commit to redeveloping Old Trafford. So here's your details from Sam Wallace and Tom Morgan at the Telegraph. He's committed, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is committed to buying out the Glazers completely and will match QIA in promising the major redevelopment of Old Trafford and the club's training base. Political backing has been cited as key in the Ratcliffe camp as the takeover coincides with the white paper that we told you about 2 weeks ago on regulation of football clubs. You've got the human rights groups that are speaking out against Qatar's bid, and Ratcliffe's Ineos group says football governance in this country is at a crossroads. So basically what you have is sports washing and greenwashing. Ineos, and what Ineos does, for those of you who don't know, as a company, global manufacturer of petrochemicals, specialty chemicals, and oil products. So what Ineos does has to do with petrochemicals. So what they're trying to do is try to distract you from what they do to the environment versus what the Qataris are as a group. So that's what you're staring at. It's sports washing and greenwashing is how it's being termed. So what Ratcliffe's group is going to do, he's going to rely on being the local guy. Hey, I was at Camp Nou in 1999 when Manchester United won the treble. Brokers obviously are keen to install a British owner because that's what they tried to do with Chelsea's sale. But Bowley Clearlake came in with 4 double extra large and was like, hey, guess what? Here you go. Debt financing from Wall Street giants. Ratcliffe's personal worth is £6 billion. He's going to make United, he claims, the number 1 club in the world, end quote. Wow, that's loud when you have things going off in your ear like that. You don't have mute. Key element of the overdue white paper, tougher powers to stop owners taking control of their clubs without explicitly detailing the source of their wealth. Part of Ratcliffe's offer, we talked about JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Rival bidder Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani would have to declare whether his proposed funding relied on the state's sovereign wealth fund, a subsidiary of which owns PSG. So here's where this is going to, and we've talked about this before, but to remind you, here's how QSI and QIA are going to claim to be different. QIA is chasing after Manchester United. That's basically tied to the Qatari bank, or the Bank of Qatar. So they are going to claim that they are the parent company and the current outfit that owns PSG, QSI, is a subsidiary. Therefore, we are different. So that's where we are. Third party that came into the deal, hedge fund giant Elliott, the former owner of AC Milan. They're not in it to buy Manchester United. They said that they are in to offer financing for a bid. They're like, hey, we're not interested in buying the club, but if you need help to get your funds over the top, we're right here for you. They joined forces with a bidder, and so that's how they might be wandering into all of this. Ratcliffe's stated bid, majority ownership. QIA wants 100%. So Ratcliffe is supposed to ease fears on extra debt at United. He's going to rely on Wall Street to get him over the top. United's £5 billion asking price, nobody other than sovereign wealth funds to get a deal done entirely on their own. Spending commitments, all of the development with the training ground and the commercial and Old Trafford, you're basically looking at a £7 billion deal by the time you're done. No concern about Ratcliffe's plan to use Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan to raise bonds and loans beyond the value of United's existing debt of £659 million. Crucially, it's understood none of the new debt would be placed on the club, and the numbers in question appear to be broadly the same levels around the Chelsea takeover last year. Financing arrangements for Bowley Clearlake consisted of a £300 million revolving credit facility and a £500 million term loan. Ineos apparently knows the political battleground has to be secured. We mentioned that football governments in this country is at a crossroads. They're probably going to put that on a T-shirt, try to sell it with an Ineos tag. But the Sheikh has promised to make the club entirely debt-free. So that's what you're staring at right now with Manchester United. Other stuff from the weekend in the Premier League. And once again, if there's anything else on you guys' minds as we go forward, there you go. Yes, ropes. You're not in the drop zone. Absolutely. And no, Will, the Qataris have not been great for the environment either. Agreed. So you're staring at the other stuff from the weekend. You're not in the drop zone. Jason Burt says this morning West Ham is not going to sack David Moyes at West Ham with the Nottingham Forest fixture coming up. Jim White, who got to write a column for the Telegraph, on op-ed piece. Say that Potter is the new Tinkerman. Chelsea fans hate it. They are 2-6-6 under Graham Potter. Bowley and Bidat Eghbali remain supportive, and they've noted Potter's work behind the scenes as to why he has not been sacked as of yet, having only won twice in 14. Resting Reece James and Thiago Silva for Southampton. Understood that Potter told James, Silva, Kai Havertz, Raheem Sterling, and Mykhailo Mudryk risk significant injury if they were to start the game, which for James, Silva, Havertz, and Mudryk would have been the third in a week. Potter took the advice of his medical team. Southampton got full points. The board believed Chelsea should still have had enough to beat Southampton, but they also recognized Potter put the club and his players ahead of himself and value that. Potter has faced accusations from inside and outside that he hasn't shown enough emotion on the touchline and in press conferences. Senior sources insist there have been a number of instances of Potter becoming upset and having tough conversations with players in the dressing room and during individual meetings. Potter's described as intense, and there are no fears over his mentality or concerns he's being swallowed up by the job. Memo: not everyone's wired the same. Sometimes you don't have to yell to get your point across. You don't have to, and if you go against type, people know that you're going against type. Then they won't take you seriously. If Graham Potter's not a yeller screamer, so what? Quoting the kids, BFD. If that's how you are, that's how you are. If you take somebody aside and have a stern conversation with them, and you're not a yeller screamer, you're not a yeller screamer. Anger management, please. People get over how Thomas Tuchel was at the same time. Third element. While many would say that Chelsea took a bet on Potter when they chose him to succeed Tuchel, there's recognition from within the club he also took a risk on them. Club sources have noted top managers and coaches do not like to take new jobs mid-season, with Marcelo Bielsa the latest example of that after turning down the Everton job. Sorry, Ropes and Tom. Potter not only agreed to take over Chelsea in mid-season, he also left a stable environment at Brighton, risking his reputation and immediate future in the process. Potter has accepted results have not been good enough. There remains a feeling inside Stamford Bridge he at least deserves one preseason to properly work with the squad, start a season as Chelsea manager, rather than paying the price for problems he inherited. Club have not considered sacking Potter or replacing him, but if they did, question is, which top manager or coach would be brave enough to take the current squad with 3 months of the season to run? Answer, not many, if any. Chelsea owners knew very well they had a rebuild on their hands when they bought the club from Roman Abramovich. They calculated the rebuild would most likely be painful given football does not allow for 5-year projects. Senior sources told The Telegraph Bowley Eghbali calculated they could rebuild the squad and the football staff in the space of 1 year and 3 transfer windows, but that would also bring with it ups and downs. Last couple of months have largely been a considerable down, according to The Telegraph. The recognition that some of the work done in last summer's transfer window, predominantly for Tuchel, has created as many problems as solutions. Insiders well aware Potter would have never constructed the squad he inherited and has felt the January business has been far more in line with his own philosophy, albeit leaving him with far too many players to rotate and keep happy. Isn't that Chelsea anyway? Manchester City provided the benchmark for Chelsea at the moment, and the clubs have studied how Shiki Begiristain worked closely with Pep to recruit the right types of players, then gave the Spaniard time to integrate them and bring out the best in them. Not everything went to plan for Guardiola in his first season in charge in City, when the club finished trophyless, and it's been apparent the new signings are given time to bed in under the new coach. Begiristain had worked with Guardiola before at Barcelona. Paul Winstanley, Chelsea's co-sporting director, worked well with Potter at Brighton, seen as significant. And Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, Chelsea believes they've got the right support around Potter. January signings and players who can thrive under him and his style, both on and off the pitch. But Potter has not yet had even a full month to work with them. Bowley and Eghbali do not believe sustainability success will come from changing the manager or head coach every 6 months. Wolves should take note of that. Chelsea right now is in 10th, 31 points. 4 points out of the gaggle at 35. They're behind all three of them in goal difference. 23 matches played as we head toward week 25 on the board. Now, here's another thought from Chris Bascom. With Leeds hurtling toward relegation, a return to Bielsa is not such a stupid idea. Okay, let's hear Bascom out for a second. The thrilling Leeds revival, which ended in a Premier League football, is now a distant memory. Is it time to send a desperate SOS to Marcelo Bielsa? So he leaves because he thought it was time. But Bascom is saying, okay, come back and help and save us. Then what? If they stay up, then does he leave again? And you're in the same situation you were in, but at least you're still up in the Premier League? That's the question. Chris Bascom says, yeah, go ahead and do it. Results from last weekend, I know, and for those of you that miss Prem and Proper, they're there as well. Spurs shuts out West Ham 2-0. Not a shock. Son comes off the bench and scores. Liverpool beats Newcastle 2-0, scores 2 in the first 20. Mark Pope then sent off for handling a ball outside the 18. Pope will not be there now for the Cup final. Martin Dubravka, their second keeper, will not be there for the Cup final because he's Cup tied. So it means it's either Loris Karius or Mark Gillespie in net for Newcastle. Eddie Howe says they're both game prepared. Not a whole lot of goals this past weekend. Brentford Palace, 1-1 draw. Fulham beats Brighton 1-0. The Southampton-Chelsea game we talked about. Southampton scores. They were basically a plus 700 on the board with your juice boxes. Manchester City, Nottingham Forest is probably the biggest surprise of the weekend. Manchester City had too many chances. Late in the match, Erling Haaland smashes one off the crossbar, and he sends the rebound up over the net. Wasted opportunity for Manchester City. Should have had probably 5 in the net against Nottingham Forest. Didn't happen. 1-1 draw. 2 points that could be costly for them chasing after Arsenal. Arsenal's got a match in hand right now. They play 2 times in the next week and a half. Bournemouth gets a big win over Wolves up at the Molineux. Arsenal down early, comes back to beat Villa. So right now, you look at your standings. Arsenal's got a 2-point advantage, but they also have a match in hand. But remember, they play twice this week, or in the next week and a half. United's at 49 points. Then the fun starts. European places, Spurs at 42, Newcastle at 41, 4-game unbeaten string snap. They've only lost twice in 23 matches this year. Fulham with the win. They've won 2 in a row. They're at 38. We mentioned the 3 teams above Chelsea at 35 points. Chelsea once again at 10th. Then you start to get into that third group or the tail end of the second group because there's always those 3 groups in the Premier League. Villa's at 28. They've lost 3 in a row. New manager bump from Unai Emery seems to be gone. Crystal Palace at 26 points. They're just hanging out. They've drawn 4 of their last 5. They get to 40 points. They'll be cool. Forest, and a lot of folks are saying Steve Cooper deserves Manager of the Year looks. 25 points right now. I think they're still in the more transfers than points, or at least they're right there. They're in 13th. They've only lost once in their last 5. Leicester at 24 points. Knicks has a little time to breathe, but not a whole lot because here's where the fun starts. Wolves at 23 points. They'd won 2 in a row. Then they lose to Bournemouth. Everton out of the drop zone. Yes, Ropes, as you said. You've won 2 of your last 3, and you've needed to do that. Because you're now ahead of Bournemouth on goal difference. Both of you are out of the relegation zone. Relegation zone right now. West Ham leads in Southampton. 20, 19, and 18 points respectively. Leeds has lost 3 of their last 4. Southampton's win got them to 18 points. So that's where they are right now. All of the madness that's going on. And so, Will, a couple of different things. Potter? Feel like a MASH episode. Sherman T. Potter. Potter is overrated. Said that before he got hired at Chelsea. You're saying it louder now. I thought he did great work at Swansea. I thought he did great work at Brighton. But we're seeing now with all of the toys that he's been given, the kind of manager that he can be. I say give him time. Of course, I'm always the pragmatic one when it comes to situations like this. I'm not a quick trigger guy. Said it before he got hired at Chelsea, and you're saying it louder now. Hit it Saturday. It's definitely gone, meaning the new manager bounce at Villa. Ricky, I like Unai, but I don't know what the long-term plan is. Will, Forrest were spending between Newcastle and Spurs in terms of spending. Yeah, Marinakos, I think, is spending leveraging the money that he's getting from the TV deal. And then obviously, if they get relegated, yes, that is true. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Marinakos, I think he's leveraging everybody in to stay up, then figure out what to do later. And then obviously, if you get relegated, then you sell everybody off and get back what you can, pennies on the dollar. So, I mean, Nottingham Forest, after the slow start, they got everything squared away, figured out, and see if they can stay afloat. But it was a great atmosphere at City Ground. It really was. More than anything, they need a sponsor. I love the UNHCR, but they need a sponsor. Will, to your point, English media always overrates English managers. And they always ish on American managers, but that's just me. No update on Southampton and Jesse Marsh, by the way. Those talks, I imagine, are still continuing to a certain degree, although Southampton seems to be happy with their current caretaker manager. We'll see. But Will, love when the 3-letter, 4-letter, the blue the Bird app, and the state media have egg on their face. Nothing wrong with that. That's just me. I have always tried to be somewhat journalistic on the show, to give you facts. When something pisses me off, I'll let you know. But most of the time, what I like to do is present the facts in a case. It's almost like being a lawyer. So I guess I've tried to do things journalistically here. Let you know the source that the information's coming from, then let you decide for yourself, and then we always have discussions on what you guys think. Oh. The 3-letter paper and the 4-letter paper? Yes. Sorry, I was thinking domestically. You were talking about the 3-letter and the 4-letter information source that we don't quote directly. Yes. Yes, the one that isn't banned in Liverpool. Yes. So I was thinking domestically. You were thinking England. Okay. But I think we can still pretty much line them up because I think they're still pretty much in the same spot. Yes, 3-letter sports. Yes. But like I said, what I've always tried to do here is present facts and evidence, avoid the 3-letter and the 4-letter sourcing over with anything that has to do with England. And I don't think I have the pipes to do the long version. Jason always has. And then present the case going forward. And then we can all decide with the information out there what to gauge, what to look at, check your sources, Bird app specifically, check your sources, number of followers, all that kind of stuff. But I've always tried to make this where we've got facts and evidence, and then we determine, then we can determine what can be had going forward. So that's how I've always tried to present things here. And thank all of you for putting up with me when I do things that way. Speaking of which, let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and let you know what is going on with players, possible moves. Get into our gossip today, as it's phrased. RB Leipzig and Josko Gvardiol says he wants to play in the Premier League and was close to joining Leeds in 2020 while he could have signed for Chelsea last summer. Bayern Munich have joined PSG in the race to sign Hakim Ziyech. And obviously, of course, we were discussing Graham Potter. Chelsea owner Todd Boehly has no intention of sacking him despite the loss to Southampton. Barcelona keeping tabs on Rodri at Manchester City ahead of the summer window, prepared to offer £80 million for the 26-year-old. And see if you've heard this before. According to Nicolo Schira, Spurs are eyeing Mauricio Pochettino as a potential replacement for Conte if he leaves at the end of the season. Conversations that we've had with Nick discussing Conte, I think he's done at the end of the year. His contract is not going to get renewed. He's not going to want to renegotiate an extension. Newcastle closely monitoring Kieran Tierney. Liverpool's pursuit of Jude Bellingham and Mason Mount could depend on their Champions League campaign from the Express, of course, financially driven, understandably so. Glazer family have been offered the financial backing to remain as owners of Manchester United by Elliott after they registered an interest in investing in the club. That's from the 4-letter. Eric Ten Hag has prioritized a new contract for Marcus Rashford. Inter Milan, front runners to sign Borussia Mönchengladbach's Marcus Thuram ahead of United and Bayern Munich. That's from Calcio Mercato. From the 3-letter paper, take the information at your own peril. Chelsea and Spurs weighing up a summer move for Brighton's forward Evan Ferguson, who's all of 18. And Sevilla interested in securing a loan deal for Manchester City's fullback Sergio Gomez. So that's your gossip from a boatload of places. What about the British papers? So we'll keep an eye on the British papers and see what they have going on. There's no Saudi-backed bid for Manchester United. They didn't make the deadline. And avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter papers, Liverpool cited the quick turnaround between Premier League and Champions League fixtures as their explanation for flying the 33 minutes back from Newcastle on Saturday. PSG's forward Kylian Mbappe, according to the Daily Mirror, has rejected claims over a tense relationship between him and Neymar amid an apparent dig towards the Brazilian in the past week. Neymar left the last PSG match, I believe, crying because he has an ankle injury. So we'll see what's going on with Neymar. Sadio Mane snubbed Mo Salah when asked in an interview to name the best finisher he played alongside at Liverpool, with the crown instead going to Divock Origi. Excuse me. From The Athletic, La Liga will file an official complaint to the Pamplona court after Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. was subject to racist abuse during their 2-0 win at Osasuna on Saturday. Again with Vinicius Jr. Again with Vinicius Jr. I cannot say that I'm surprised. One, that we're continuing to get this with Vinicius Jr., sadly. It just drives me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy. Ornstein on Monday, which is a must follow when it comes to everything in the Premier League. Definitely something to keep an eye on here with his headlines. The takeover is no barrier to the Rashford deal, so we'll keep an eye on that. You've got Liverpool gaining momentum with the win at Newcastle, reignited hopes for a top 4 finish, ideal prep for the Champions League tie against Real Madrid on Tuesday. Off the pitch, Liverpool beginning to emerge from a turbulent period that saw the club put up for sale. Confirmation arriving that sporting director Julian Ward, director of research Ian Graham to leave their roles. Graham will hand over to William Spearman an internal promotion, while the process to replace Ward is now underway in its early stages. Paul Mitchell, the Monaco sporting director, who L'Equipe recently reported rejected a contract extension, expected to continue at Monaco. Eintracht Frankfurt CEO Markus Krusche is also part of the deal. Last week's top 2 tussle for Arsenal and Manchester City set a new streaming record for Amazon in the UK, becoming Prime Video's most watched Premier League match. No surprise there. Recently renewed their Champions League contract in Germany until 2027. Premier League has ended their Hanover Communications agreement, the London-based PR firm that's working on a Qatari offer lodged by Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani. So that's to avoid any kind of a conflict of interest when it comes to the owner's test. Luca Romero agrees to a new Lazio deal, according to Ornstein. Premier League players will wear armbands in the yellow and blue of the Ukraine flag to mark the 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion, writes Luke Boscher. For the coming weekend round of fixtures falling a year after the troops first rolled into Ukraine, February 24th of 2022. So there's that. And so when it comes to David Ornstein, keep an eye on all that stuff. But about damn time, La Liga, that you filed an official complaint to the Pamplona court after Vinicius Jr. subject to racist abuse during their 2-0 win at Osasuna on Saturday. About damn time. I mean, legitimately. How long are we talking here? How many different instances are we discussing here? How many different instances are we looking at when it comes to Vinicius Jr. and Real Madrid? I would probably say 17, but I know that I'm being somewhat facetious in that number. But it took too damn long for this to happen. Absolutely took too damn long for it to happen. Ancelotti, once again, Spanish, and this is going back 2 weeks. 2 weeks when Carlo Ancelotti said this. Carlo Ancelotti said Spanish football has a racism problem after he was forced to explain Vinicius Jr.'s not to blame for the abuse he has endured. Mallorca, 2 weeks ago, hung an effigy. La Liga president at the time, this is 2 weeks ago. Atletico Madrid in January, hung an effigy, yelled at again, so that's 3 at least. La Liga president at the time, 2 weeks. And this is just to remind you where we've come from here. La Liga president Javier Tebas said Vinicius' claim was unfair and untrue. Then Ancelotti came to the fore. The question I ask is this: what is the problem? Vinicius' teammates, what's the problem? To defend himself? What does Vinicius have to defend himself against? What do his teammates have to defend themselves against? I don't know. It seems like the problem is Vinicius, but the problem is what happens around him, period. It is a problem of Spanish football. I'm a part of Spanish football, and I think it's a problem we have to solve because it seems that Vinicius is the culprit, but he is the victim of something that I don't understand. That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago that Carlo Ancelotti said that as they were getting ready for the Club World Cup. And now, La Liga is finally going to file an official complaint with the Pamplona courts. Yeah, every single match, Ricky, it is. No doubt. Other news from The Athletic. Nottingham Forest have launched an appeal over the Premier League's decision not to approve their application to include Steve Cook in the 25-man squad. Brighton head coach Roberto De Zerbi, who got a red last time out, has advised owner-chairman Tony Bloom to extend Adam Lallana's contract after revealing he could be without him for the rest of the season. Real Betis, this is cool. Real Betis set a record for football's most inclusive game on Saturday for the most supporters with disability to attend a match as they beat Valladolid 2-1. Good on them. Well done. Evening Standard, QPR are plotting a swift appointment, having sacked manager Neil Critchley amid fears they were sleepwalking towards relegation in League One. Critchley lasted 2 months. In the Times, Tony Cascarino says Graham Potter would have already been sacked 3 times if Chelsea were still under the stewardship of Roman Abramovich. Probably true. Daily Express, Arsenal analyst Miguel Molina reportedly blew kisses at Aston Villa counterpart Victor Manis before being kicked out of the press box at Villa Park on Saturday with a second clash in the tunnel, leading to officials from both teams intervening. And at the Daily Record, Dundee United have accepted a six-figure offer from Fulham for their teenage striker Rory McLeod, including a loan-back clause for 23-24. So that's your news. But slow clap for La Liga. About damn time. About damn time. Seriously. What else is going on today? Let's take up what you can watch on the telly. Ratings, player ratings, once again, She Believes Cup. We'll talk about that tomorrow with Bart at 10 o'clock. We'll also go over the comments about Crystal Dunn's complaints about where she was being told to play on the pitch. Vlatko Andonovski saying nobody's forced to play on the women's national team. So we'll keep an eye on that. TV, pretty light schedule today, understandable. Happy President's Day, by the way, for those of you who celebrate. ESPN Deportes has La Liga at 3 o'clock, Getafe Valencia. On the Plus, Championship, Watford West Brom at 3 o'clock. They've also got Getafe Valencia and Malaga and Zaragoza at 3 o'clock. Paramount Plus, Argentine Primera later this afternoon and tonight. Doubleheader. Sarmiento San Lorenzo at 5:15. Atletico Tucumán and Villa Sarsfield at 7:30. Serie A, Torino and Cremonese. That is at 2:45. Juice boxes for today. Once again, obviously right now, lower divisions. It is the Far East, working your way toward the Middle East and North Africa. All that's going on right now. Gradually getting into the smaller divisions in Eastern Europe as we go. Keep an eye on African Cup of Nations. You've got North Africa play going on. Asian Champions League at 1 o'clock. Al Hilal from Saudi Arabia playing a team from the UAE. You have a lot of top division stuff and lower division stuff continuing early afternoon going on in Europe, lower divisions in England, lower divisions in France. We mentioned Torino Cremonese at 245. Torino's a favorite at minus 149. Cremonese on the road's basically a plus 500. Primera Nacional, our friends at Almirante Brown are playing at 3 o'clock. They're a home favorite, big home favorite. Championship, Watford and West Brom started out within the margin of error. Both teams are around plus 170 to 175. Watford is now a plus 165. West Brom's a plus 181. Your draw on the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portals, a plus 219. Getafe Valencia. Valencia on the road's a slight road favorite at a plus 175. Getafe's north of plus 200. You also have Liga Portugal, Benfica, big favorite at home against Boa Vista at 415. Argentina, Sarmiento Junín and San Lorenzo's at 5:15 today as well. Any of the matches that you can't find, you might be able to find them on Fanati's, ftz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show. And for those of you that want to watch Goal TV for the fans, beIN Sports, Teisei, that's the place to go do it. Jason got me hooked, and I'm still hooked. Atletico Tucumán, by the way, at 7:30 in the LPF is a plus 150. Going up against Villa Sarsfield. Villa Sarsfield is a plus 210 on the road tonight in the LPF. So, once again, this week, big week. Big week. Busy week. Cavalcade of Stars. And it's going to be a fun one. U.S. won the U17s by knocking off the Dominican Republic on Saturday by the score of 7-0. Rotated squad even. 9 changes from the team that beat Canada midweek last week to finish up in group play. 1 win away from qualifying for the 2023 U17 Men's World Cup with the win over the Dominican Republic. So there's a lot of stuff with the U17s to keep an eye on as well. So that's big stuff on the national scene with the U17s. But once again, busy week, very, very busy week. Ricky, be good. We'll catch up with you next week. Once again, remember tomorrow it is phone line permitting somewhere in Canada, Kevin Egan looking to join us at 9:30. We'll see if Kevin Patrick's in the car with him. Bart Keeler to talk all the national team stuff, She Believes, protests, all that stuff. He should be joining us at 10. On Wednesday, Glenn Crooks out of the blocks in Turner time at 9:05 to discuss NYCFC and the Eastern Conference from his perspective. Glenn Davis out of Houston joining us Thursday at 9:30 with his cup of coffee. He'll break things down in the West for us. Remember also Nico Moreno with Thursdays with Nico. Hopefully we'll find out what his week is like and figure out when we can post that. Then we're still chasing another couple of guests, and hopefully we can add them in. We'll probably have some golden ticket crashers as well this week to get you ready for MLS season. A Friday show, obviously 9 o'clock. It's going to be normal 9:30. Our friends from Beyond Goals will be joining us. Weekend Whip Around starts 10 o'clock Friday morning. That's what the 10 o'clock hour is always going to be, is the Weekend Whip Around to send us home every single week. So we'll see what happens. Weekend Whip Around Tuesday and Friday. We have the high school games of the week. Tuesday will be at McIntosh. The boys play Dalton at 4. They play the girls they play the Pacelli girls at 6. You've got school is in session coming out in the midweek as well, where we catch up with folks around the state. And Friday, it is, I believe, Central Gwinnett at Mill Creek. The game's at Mill Creek on Friday. Normal times, Jason will be with you 5:30, 7:30 there as well. So it's going to be a fun week. The week is going to fly by, and I'm not kidding, because as we get ready for everything, it is going to be a fun week as we get ready for MLS, their first days, and Atlanta and San Jose, 7:30 Saturday night at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it's going to be fun. And thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us today. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of different fronts. We'll do it again tomorrow. All week long, want your predictions, want to hear what you think about everybody else, not just Atlanta United, but how you think things are going to be in the East, how you think things are going to be in the West. Any other predictions off the top of your head? We'll continue to go through the jury of 12 at MLSsoccer.com and what they thought, especially when it came to particular teams that they come up in conversation and all of that. So it's going to be a really busy time, a really fun time this week as we get you ready for MLS season here in the SDH footprint. And, thanks for hanging out with us for a Monday. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning, and we'll rock and roll through this week. Thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us as you always do. Thanks to those of you that subscribe on the Twitch pitch, and thanks for the conversations that you have on the Twitch pitch as well. I keep an eye on it, and I see a lot of you talking with each other, and that's also the very cool element involved in all of this. So for all of us here, to all of you there, once again, thanks for hanging out with us here for another round of SDH. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho plot to y'all. For Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. We will be back with you 9:05 tomorrow morning.